Thanks everyone for joining in. Almost lunchtime, so it becomes a little difficult to hold everybody's attention. We'll try our best to do that. So what we'll be talking today is about Azure Security Center and how Azure Security Center works as your CSPM, the Cloud Security Posture Management Platform, and CWPP, the Cloud Workload Protection Platform. This is very important to understand. So we will initiate the conversation by a quick introduction. Lizzie has already exaggerated about me. Just a few things about me are mentioned on the slide. I'm available on Twitter with Rohit11 as my handle, and please feel free to follow me there. With Alok, over to you, Alok.
So, hi, my name is Alok, and I have been an information security program manager with a bunch of Fortune 50 organizations in the United States for about 16 years. I have recently moved back to India, and I am currently developing information security programs for multiple organizations here in India across various industries such as pharmaceutical, healthcare, IT, and manufacturing. And you can follow me on Twitter at Alok_the_K. That's just a brief
Right.
introduction about me.
So today we'll be talking about Azure Security Center and see how Azure Security Center can actually bring you the unified visibility on your everything which is cloud. It could be your not only Azure, but also along with Azure, your AWS posture, your visibility into your GCP infrastructure, how it can bring in the visibility, a control over the infrastructure, and also give you a adaptive threat prevention to the latest attacks happening on your cloud infrastructure. We will look into the same through the demos as well. And with the adaptive threat prevention, how does the automated and intelligent threat detection and response works on Azure Security Center? That would be our agenda for the day. Once we'll go through the theory part of it, the most interesting and the awaited stuff, that demo of Azure Security Center will be taken care by Alok. So that would be the flow. Alok, next. Okay, so what is an intelligent security today? And we're living in a world with COVID and work from home and hardly wearing suit and tie anymore. Most of the time in pajamas, sitting home and working at different infrastructures as well as different projects out there in cloud. The security definition has changed, and the method of having a intelligent security has changed. Earlier, we used to have firewalls in offices, and that was used to be our perimeter. Today, you can be accessing stuff from your cell phone, your tablet, from your cafe, from home, from airport, or anywhere. Hence, the perimeter of your infrastructure is now transferred to the identity itself. Having a good identity and access management and visibility becomes the perimeter. Now, around the perimeter, the security can be divided in three different segments. An attack can come outside in, from outside the perimeter to inside the infrastructure. Inside out, the data which is stored inside can be stolen and taken out. Or outside out, when two clouds talk to each other. You may have an application which is talking to multiple clouds, or your O365 data getting access directly from Dropbox, those kind of outside out scenario. So an intelligent security today would comprise of a decent perimeter and identity. Once it is done, the outside in attack will be protected using the threat protection, where anybody attacking to your infrastructure should be stopped. Your inside out data, which is there in your infrastructure, it lives, and the moment it is going out without your permission and knowledge, that should be protected. Plus, outside out, the cloud to cloud communication, the multi cloud setup has to be secured. Alok. Let's look at a regular attack kill chain, or a methodology by which an attacker would attack an infrastructure, and specifically talking about a cloud infrastructure. They look at something called as exposure. These exposures could be the point of attack from where they can get an entry into your infrastructure. It could be the insecure configuration of your cloud components. It could be a vulnerability in your application. It could be an admin machine which is infected with a malware. It could be an open entry point or an access where it is not configured properly and the attacker can use that to get in, or even expose credentials. Using these, so if you map it to a very popular attack framework called as MITRE ATT&CK, should go and Google about it if you are not aware of it. It gives you a very clear picture on what are the different stages of attack. So the exposure becomes the first part or pre-attack stage where the attacker looks at what are the vulnerable points. Then it creates an access into your infrastructure. The access point could be the virtual machine, could be the application, could be the credentials stored even up to the key vaults, key storage. It can be your data store, or it could be the IoT devices which are connected to the cloud infrastructure, because that has been a fad really of lately, to use remote robotic process automation and RPAs to bring the data from IoT into the cloud and do all the data crunching on the cloud. Good, very good. But let's not make that as a channel to take the attack back into your infrastructure. So once we look at that, at these different access locations, suppose an attack happens, and in this example, the attack is happening on the virtual machine. From there, the attack radius may increase. So it will not remain onto the virtual machine. Once it has an insider access, the attacker would like to go on to your other areas as well. So saying that virtual machine vulnerable will contain the attack only to virtual machine is not right in today's world. The attack radius will increase to the apps, credentials, stores, and using the reverse connection from IoT devices to breach into the network or hardcore office infrastructure. Once an attack has happened, the focus changes of an attacker, and then the main intent comes into picture. What is the intent of an attack? The intent of an attack is either data loss, delete the data, or data exfiltration, copy the data out from your infrastructure, put it onto, very commonly we have been hearing data being leaked onto darknet and other stuff. And then asking for money that, okay, we will not leak your data if you pay us money. The third could be the typical ransomware attack where the data is still there on your system but encrypted, and unless until you pay, you will not be getting the data back. And fourth is the resource abuse, and this has been the most common one, where your virtual machines or your subscriptions can be used to spin off multiple more virtual machines and use Bitcoin mining, Monero mining, etc. on the same. So that's the attack action which can be taken. I'll look next. This is a typical heterogeneous hybrid environment which we are living today, right? We could have an application maybe completely on Azure, but there could be some part be on AWS, or for that matter, GCP as well. And we need security at every place. So there could be a developer, a backend administrator, or an end user accessing the virtual machine and accessing the container registry. You may have a Kubernetes cluster, and under which you can have multiple services running. There could be a database. There could be a database connected to your on-premise or the other cloud, or even your private data center databases. That could be a bidirectional conversation. So this is a world which we live into. And this is the world we see all the attacks today in. So in the next slide, we'll see how the attacks commonly are happening around. On the virtual machine, it could be either trying to break into your port 3389 on which you are running your RDP, or if you have a Linux instance, port 22 being brute forced, trying to guess username and password to get an access into the system. Or it could be a vulnerability which is unpatched, something like Bluekeep. Bluekeep was a vulnerability on remote desktop protocol, and such vulnerability can be exploited to gain access. One of the very interesting one is the Bitcoin mining one. I will give you a quick example what happened in one of our known industry champions. On the 2nd of October was falling on a Friday. So the attack started on 1st of October. How did the attack initiated? The attack initiated because one of the developer who was doing some development had kept the access token of the GCP cloud in that case in the code, and the code was uploaded onto GitHub. It was a private repository. For some particular purpose, he made the repository public for half an hour and then came back. In that time, the access tokens were leaked. The attacker picked up the access token, waited for the right time to do an attack. On 1st of October evening, when offices are getting closed, at that point of time, the attacker started spinning off a lot of virtual machines on Google and very high end till the time Google said no, that you don't have any more credit limit to increase your number of VMs. Then on these VM, it started doing Bitcoin mining. Google noticed that too many VMs are getting spawned, so they sent out alert emails and stuff. But long weekend, travel time, everybody would take rest. So 2nd of October, 3rd of October, 4th of October, nobody noticed it. On 5th of October, on Monday, when the reaction started, by the time they could contain the attack, it was afternoon. And during that time, the total bill of GCP to the company was of more than 2 crore rupees. So that's the kind of attack it can happen. Similar attack can happen on containers. The dashboard could be exposed, or the role-based access control not configured properly. On the web applications, different web application attacks can happen, which are commonly covered under the OWASP top 10. And people do their regular VAPT cycles to understand those attacks and protect. But yes, those kind of attacks are possible. Similarly, direct attacks on SQL databases can happen, brute forcing against the SQL credential, or directly accessing the database to expose the data. Similar attacks are possible on the storage account, where an attacker may upload the malware package onto your blob storage and then use to control the malicious file distribution. So if it is to be blamed, you will be blamed that, okay, your subscription was distributing the malware file. Similarly, other file-based attacks can be happening, including data harvesting. And such thing is very well possible even on your key vault, because they would like to bring in the data out from there. The biggest data which is there in the key vault are the encryption keys, and which could be the crown jewel for people. Okay, I'll look next. There comes Azure Security Center, which can prevent. There are two questions on the chat right now. Inside attack are more challenging. Okay, we will discuss about that. And unless MFA strictly followed in internal too, yes, MFA will also touch upon that topic during the demonstration. I will capture these. Okay, now comes Azure Security Center. So Azure Security Center is a combination of cloud security posture management and cloud workload protection platform. They're pretty typical 4-word acronyms and mouthful words. But what does it do? Let's take a closer look today. Under the Azure Security Center Cloud Security Posture Management, the platform gives you access to the posture of your current cloud setup, as well as your non-Azure cloud, including AWS, GCP, on-premise data centers, to know what is the current health, what is the current security score, what are the compliances to different policies, and what all can you automate to make things easier. Wherein, on the other hand, the CWPP, or Cloud Workload Protection Platform, it will look into the direct attack prevention and protection against that attack on your servers, on your virtual machines, on your cloud native workloads like Azure Functions, Lambda, your managed SQL instances, plus your blob storage, Key Vault, databases, etc. That's what the Azure Security Center is for. Next. Now, when we talk about the Azure Security Center and Azure as a CWPP, recently Microsoft has bifurcated into the different name nomenclature. So Azure Security Center itself has two flavors, with Azure Defender on and with Azure Defender off. So with Azure Defender off, it is only Azure Security Center, where it has a direct bidirectional conversation with Azure Defender, and it is free of cost. With Azure Defender turned on, there is a cost to it, which Alok would cover during his demo. What is the total cost of each instance? But with Azure Defender on, it will protect your workload as we spoke. It will take care of your virtual machine. It will take your databases, cloud services, key vaults, even DNS entries now. Both of these talk to a Azure Sentinel, which is your SIEM, the Security Information Event Management Platform, which is also provided by Azure if you want to use, or you can use your own SIEM, which you may have already invested in and want to utilize for. What happens here is the automation and orchestration of a security information event management platform, or a SIM platform, so to say, does direct conversation with your Azure Defender and automates the security recommendations which are there. Either you can go for an automation or you can go for a manual effort at all the places to take care of the security depending on your requirement and the need. So now, to look at the whole picture, your Azure Security Center is your CSPM, your Azure Defender is your CWPP, and your Azure Sentinel is your SIEM. Next. So now Azure Security Center can protect, let's see how it can protect. It can detect and block advanced malware attacks using the Defender ATP, the advanced threat protection, on your Linux and Windows workload. It can protect on your cloud native services. It can protect against different malicious attacks. Also looking at your IoT solution, the protection is there. And it is a inbuilt layer in your Azure Resource Manager. So on your portal itself, it will not only look at your infrastructure which you have created, but also the way you manage your portal. There was a question around multi-factor authentication. Azure Security Center takes a very serious scoring level on multi-factor authentication on the Azure Resource Manager. Next. It will also protect your Linux and Windows from different various threats. One of the very interesting aspect with Azure Defender is just-in-time access. Alok, please take them through the demo once we talk that. Just-in-time access will actually prevent you from opening your port 22, 3389, or any other critical port. Always on for people. These are generally administrative ports or the management ports. And you can have a very fine-grained control on these so that you can open the port only for a limited set of IP, only for a limited time period. There are other adaptive network hardening, which Alok will take you through. The malware protection, we already spoke. It can protect you against your file-based malwares, also the fileless malware attack. There are a lot of malware attacks which are fileless malware these days, and prevent the data exfiltration from happening. Alok. Okay. Most of you have heard about this term VAPT, or vulnerability assessment. A lot of companies use it as a monthly, quarterly, half-yearly, or as an annual exercise to test their code, test their application. We know a lot of organizations have moved over to a continuous vulnerability management using tools like Qualys, Rapid7, and other stuff in their enterprise, which will continuously keep scanning their assets. With Azure Security Center and Azure Defender, this particular functionality powered by Qualys is provided free of cost to the users, where you can run the automated scanning on all your code, your infrastructure, and it will tell you if there is any vulnerability in your application or in your infrastructure setup. This is tightly integrated directly with your Azure Security Center, so you would see the output and the reports coming in directly there. I'll look next. This also takes care of the container images. So the Qualys scanner will also work on with your ACR and the container images which are there. So giving you a protection on all of these environments in one go. Next. So as we spoke, it also provides you security and visibility on your on-premise or on data center access. You can onboard your Windows server using Window Admin Center. You can onboard AWS EC2 or GCP using the API connectors. The connectors are there directly into the Azure Security Center, which can be used. Next. Oh, speaking time is over. Now the demo time. Alok will take you through the demo of the Azure Security Center directly.
Okay.
What do you want?
Great. Hello everyone. So I will first turn off my camera. Can you see my camera or no? Not yet, right? Okay, good. So let's move to the Azure Security Center. Good afternoon, everyone. It is good to be here. And so basically, how do you enter Security Center? So when you log into your portal, Security Center is you can be found probably on the top panel here, or you can just search in this type SEC, and Security Center should be the third option if they don't add any more. So click on Security Center, and this is our home dashboard for Azure Security Center. I do apologize for the speed in Wi-Fi. I wish it was faster. Right. What is Azure Security Center basically? It provides a unified view of your current threat landscape. It allows the organization to focus on and prioritize the threats that apply a relevant level of defense. So this basically means that whatever recommendations are provided by Azure to you, you can then prioritize them and apply the necessary level of defense, meaning you don't have to go all overboard and protect it completely. You can apply what's necessary to your organization. It is natively embedded within Azure Services and Azure Advisor. What does this mean? When I say natively, if I go to say your virtual machines over here, right? Now, within virtual machines, if I click on any say VM over here, and then let's give some time for the Wi-Fi to catch up. And if you look at a security blade for this particular VM, you'll see that there are a bunch of recommendations over here. These recommendations basically come from Azure Security Center. To view additional, see Security Center over here. So that's what I mean by it is natively embedded within Security Center. Even the Azure Advisor also has the same recommendations pushed in over here, right? Now, the threat intelligence that we have in this pipeline is basically sourced from a lot of cognitive science, what Rohit mentioned earlier, machine learning models and security feeds from Microsoft's various sources. And actually, Microsoft analyzes about a few billion data points every day. So that's a lot of data to gather and analyze. It can monitor Azure resources, on-prem resources, and multi-cloud hybrid environments as well. So providing a true holistic experience for you to monitor the security posture, which is why this is called a CSPM. Now, best part, this is free. It is integrated within your subscription if you apply it to your subscription, and you only pay for the Azure Defender part of it. We'll cover the pricing at a later stage. Now, the three pillars of Security Center are to strengthen the security posture, to reduce the time needed to protect from threats, and basically reduce the time frame needed to secure the environment. So this is basically three things which allow this to become a Security Center to become a CSPM. Now, let's look at the UI for a minute. The left panel they're called blades. They are shortcuts to various features of Security Center. The top panel here, which you can see my mouse moving, is what I call an executive summary. So it tells me that one subscription is covered by this Security Center. It has 27 resources, 17 recommendations, and 8 security alerts that I need to look at. Now, the further 4 ones I call them tiles. The secure score tile basically gives you a score of your current environment. The higher the score, the more secure you are. Recommendations basically are based on the analysis of your data points, which I mentioned earlier, and we can and these points basically refer to your config changes, settings, security issues that are gained from Azure resource usage activity, right? Now, regulatory. So let's take a quick look at these recommendations. So for this particular subscription, we have the following recommendations over here, right? Now, these, as you can see on top, that I've got about 25 total resources and 12 are unhealthy. So let's see, and if you scroll down, these are the security controls that can be applied to secure these resources. Now, what is on the right hand side, if it shows red or partially red, that means it is not completely secure. If it's green, that means you're done with the task. If you ungroup these controls, you have a bunch of recommendations that you can go through. Now these will differ based on your environment. Now let's look at, say, system updates. Something very simple. System update should be installed on your machine, right? So now it gives me information about this recommendation that the severity is high, and this is a brief description about the issue, remediation steps, which is basically, this is a manual remediation, the affected resources. So I need to say click on this Win10 demp VM and trigger the logic app. Now, logic app basically means that there will be some kind of action that will be taken. Now, how to create logic apps is probably out of scope for this discussion, but but you can definitely look it up online to see how this is done. Based on certain trigger actions, an automated response will take place, which will cause the updates to be installed on this particular VM. Next, we can even look at ports. So managing ports of virtual machines should be protected by just-in-time network access control. So just-in-time is a very popular feature of Azure Security Center. And again, I do apologize for the speed in the Wi-Fi today. So I have two unhealthy resources. By unhealthy, I mean that there is no just-in-time enabled for these resources. However, these resources are just-in-time is enabled. I can quickly go here, click on this ASC Win10 Pro resource, and just click fix. And it'll ask me which ports do I want to provide just-in-time access for. Simply click on add. I can port 3389, which is RDP. It's already defined. Okay, so let's got this. Right. So here I can say that I need a request for this for 2 hours. Click on OK. Right. Now this is done. Which VM are we looking at? ASA Win10 Pro. Okay. So now go back here, go to virtual machines. So you can just see how simple this is to administer. Where are we? ASA Win10 Pro. Right. ASA Win10 Pro. And if we click on the networking blade, we will see that there is a RDP rule created here. Go to your connect. Okay, I think this is still taking a bit of time to come through. So see, it says that to improve security, enable just-in-time access on this VM. Others normally a request, they enable just-in-time. See, now it's enabled here. This should have happened from there, but I guess it takes some time for it to reflect. Go to networking here, and there we go. A GIT rule is created here. I can go to the connection tab here and request access for this port. I can request access for only my IP. So request access. This is requesting access for ASA Win10 Pro on RDP port. Let's wait. Okay, this is done. Now when we go to networking blade again, we will see that an additional rule here has been created, which is only applicable for my IP address, and the action is allow. So this just-in-time rule is a any deny rule rule, but this rule is applicable only to me, and this rule will automatically be deleted after the time period expires. So it's that simple to ensure that you don't have any resources that have some inadvertent access provided to them. Right. Let's head back to Security Center. So that was recommendations in a real brief. So let's go to your regulatory compliance. So obviously within our environments, we need to have we are subject to regulatory compliance because the work we do is governed by certain bodies. Now in this situation, I can get a top level view of a high level view of the security policies and compliance that I need to adhere to. It is continuously assessing my my security state for these for resources. I can optimize and improve the security by providing compliance centric recommendations. So as you can see at the bottom here, that I am right now being assessed on the Azure security benchmark, and there are about 11 control assessments over here. I can drill down into each of them and see which I need to be taking action on. It's as simple as that, right? Now, even over here, I can set up multiple compliance controls. So show all two. Right now, I have a dashboard that's saying that ISO. I'm only compliant with 4 out of 20 ISO controls and 15 out of 39 Azure security based benchmark controls. I can even manage my compliance policies at the top from the top panel here. And for my subscription, I can basically sorry about that. Yeah, clicked. Okay, I can basically apply this the default policy here. I can even apply industry standard policies. I can enable and disable as I please. I can even create my own custom policies that I can apply to my environment. Let's go back. There we go. Okay, now Azure Defender. Now Azure Defender is the paid. Oh, you know what? Before that, let's go real quick on the insights section on the right hand side over here. So these insights are basically quick shortcuts to tell you what recommendations are you should be looking at, which is what I mentioned on the prioritized and curated recommendations earlier. Controls with the highest potential increase. Rohit mentioned earlier, there was a question I think on the chat about MFA. So as you can see, MFA has the highest potential increase to prevent security breaches or threats. So there's an 18% increase in score you can gain by enabling MFA at various levels. You can scroll down to take advantage of the blogs and other resources from the Azure community, security community at large. Right. So Azure Defender. So Azure Defender here, now basically it's giving you, this is a paid version of Security Center, and it gives you the detected threats on servers via behavioral analytics for malware, and it protects your servers, app services, storage areas from any security issues. This basically is your EDR, so to speak, via integration with Windows Defender ATP. Application whitelisting via machine learning solutions is possible here. Threats detected across Azure services for SQL databases, storage areas, they will show up over here. If you want to perform an investigation on a certain security incident, you can do so by drilling down into these incidents and even seeing what this issue was. For example, let's take a look on the right hand side, failed SSH brute force attack. So we can see that there was someone tried to do a brute force attack on this ASC Ubuntu 16 server. Let's see what this is. So as you can see, this is a medium severity. The issue is still active, and on the what Rohit mentioned earlier about the MITRE attack kill chain, this is on the lines of a recon. So along with the MITRE attack kill chain, you might have also heard the Lockheed Martin kill chain. So the Lockheed Martin kill chain and the also states that in the recon phase, someone's trying to brute force to gain access to your resources, and once they gain resources, they can leverage this to go and create even more problems for you. Full details. So this security incident basically is telling me that there were 58 failed attempts to connect to this host. 4 credentials were tried. There was no SSH session initiated. 4 accounts were used here from some host on this host, and the IP was somewhere in Indonesia and a network and via this particular network connection here. And next, you can take action to mitigate this threat. Now, to mitigate this threat, you can resolve these 3 recommendations over here, and even create a logic app to trigger an automated response. Additionally, if you see way too many issues like this, it can probably be like a DDoS or something like that, or just not even DDoS, but just someone tried to brute force their way in. So you can suppress these alerts until some time, so your dashboard doesn't get overwhelmed. So that's about your security alerts, real brief. Another very popular feature, so here, just in time. So within Defender, you can even take care of just in time VM access from here as well. All you need to do is, so these are the configured virtual machines. Not configured is here. So two of them, I can just click here on ASU Ubuntu 16, enable GIT, and this is the same thing what we saw earlier. And then just click on save. So JIT has been enabled on this. If we go back now, another very interesting feature is the network map. So this gives me a visualization about my network. So let's select my internal network, internal resources as well, and all the, okay, here we go. So from on my subscription, you can see that there's an ASC subnet over here, a demo VNet subnet, and WinAD subnet. In this subnet, there are two internal subnets over here, one public subnet, and we can even look at the traffic that flows. So as you can see, there is no outbound traffic to this, but there is internal traffic over here. Within this segment here, within this network segment here, you can see everyone can talk to everyone. So this is something that gives you an idea that you might need to limit the communication that happens between various segments or resources in your environment. This is very, so the network map and the JIT access are two very popular features of Azure Defender. Right. So now let's look at Firewall Manager. Now we have not enabled this for our environment, but basically Firewall Manager allows for centralized firewall management. Now I'm sure all of you are deploying firewalls within your organization, and sometimes you have to manage 1, 2, 4, 10 firewalls, that too across geographies and across subscriptions, sometimes on-prem and all these things. So imagine how much of a pain it is to manage and administer these firewalls. Especially when you go to each one of them and do it one by one. So in this situation, it saves your organization from any out of sync config issues. So you may configure one firewall, go on a lunch break or something, and forget about the other one, or forget to do one particular setting. And that can be the exact vulnerability that the attacker will exploit tomorrow within your, and again accessed in your organization. So here we can create centralized policies. We can add the policies to the virtual networks and the virtual hubs. So how this works is basically you create, this is a hub and spoke architecture. So you create a firewall policy, or you import them from your existing firewall deployments, then create a hub, and then connect either other firewalls or network segments to it. So your firewall basically becomes like a one-stop shop for allowing and disallowing traffic, which is what the firewall is supposed to do. On the left-hand panel, you see the blades here. You can see what virtual networks are within your environment here, and deploy firewalls accordingly. Create any virtual hubs, nothing here. Create a virtual your firewall policies in this. Just create a policy, simple as clicking a button and following the steps over here to create a policy. Your DNS settings, TLS, whether you want TLS inspection to take place or not, any kind of threat intelligence that you would that will need to be identified, your IDPS information here, and deploy these rules. In the interest of time, we will not be delving into each step because there's a lot to go through over here, to be honest. Right. So now what we need to look at is basically the pricing and settings blades over here. So this is something that Rohit had spoken about earlier, that this is for our sponsorship here, for our subscription here. This is so to speak integrated within the subscription. But if you turn the Azure Defender part on, then it becomes turns into a paid service. So you and the approximate cost for each of these resources can be set to be around $15 per server per month. So you can see the advantage that all these just-in-time access, regulatory compliance, these are incredibly useful features that you can enable if you turn on Azure Defender. Of course, without Defender also you will get recommendations, but you'll not have these additional features for the threat. Oh, there we go. Somebody just so Azure Defender, Security Center just enabled GIT for one resource. We can even create email notifications for any security alerts, any threat detection that we need to enable, automations that we hope can happen. Not hope, but we can create these automations such that certain actions can be triggered and action taken based on to secure your environment. Cloud connectors, we'll look at this in a later phase as well. But while we're here, let's take a look at this. So we can connect AWS and GCP accounts to provide a true global environment, globally monitored environment. So let's look at this in a separate area. Okay, security policies. Now this basically, it leverages for okay, this is also we went through earlier. This, like I said, these are all shortcut blades that we can access from here. Security solutions. So we can bring in our existing security solutions that we've deployed as well. Just because you have enabled Security Center doesn't mean you throw out your existing. Negate the money you spent on the resources you enabled. So let's say go through the steps to create a SIEM, integrated SIEM. So you basically create an event hub over here, which will send the logs to Azure Monitoring. It'll create an event hub, and then basically last step is you install the SIEM connector and configure it to pull the data from the event hub. So this is a fairly detailed process, and we cannot go through this in the interest of time, but I do encourage you to leverage this SIEM integration, which will provide you an even better insight into your security environment. You can create automation here. This will trigger based on set conditions. So if I create a workflow here, I can create add a name here for what resource group do I want to have this take place. Let's say we want to create for all the detection alerts or security recommendations or compliance. So if I want a compliance related alert, I can perform a separate workflow. And which compliance do I want to do this for? So for ISO or for ASB or PCI or any kind of other compliance that we have enabled in our subscription. And apply the logic app. Again, logic app is something that we will be that is out of scope for this discussion. But that's how simple this is. Now, coverage. Basic coverage blade lets us know which subscriptions are covered within our environment here. So right now, this is telling me that Azure sponsorship subscription is covered, and if there are any other that we would need to cover, that they will appear in these partially covered or not covered, depending on how much you want, how much coverage you want. You can enable or disable coverage for your subscriptions. Cloud connectors. So this is what we were mentioning earlier, and Rohit had spoken about this initially, that CSP, that Security Center provides a true multi-cloud environment. So I can create an AWS account. I can pull in my AWS resources by filling out the details, and again, configuring Azure Arc. As you can see, Azure Arc is also, it's a fairly detailed discussion, and we'll leave this at current spot over here. You can also pull in your GCP resources by filling out these details. Do have your subscription information about GCP and AWS when you create these resources and try to pull in the data from here. So that, in a brief, is your Azure Security Center. I do hope you leverage it and use its recommendations and insights to secure your environment. So Rohit, over to you.
So we wanted to actually show you a little more details of alerts and attacks, but
Right.
On our demo setup, we didn't see those many attacks. So what we have done is, from one of our production environment, we have taken the screenshots, which we'll be going through quickly now, to understand what are the different other kind of attacks your Azure Security Center can actually help you with. So this is the dashboard which you have seen. Next.
Okay.
In this dashboard, one important aspect, Alok, once it back, please.
Sure.
One important aspect, if you have multiple subscription, you can see in the bottom that it says your security score for each of those subscriptions separately. So you can have
Right.
multiple subscription managed at one place in the secure dashboard, secure score dashboard. These are the alert dashboard. We also saw these with minimum set of alerts, but you can filter them out with various combinations, and it gives you very variety of reports. Next,
So as you can see, there's a potential SQL injection over here. There's a SQL
potential
brute force
proof of
attempt.
attempt.
There is even a anti-malware action taken. So some malware action happened, probably taken place in environment, and some remediation action has taken place.
On one of the VMs. So
Resources,
in
yeah,
this particular example, there is a SQL server on which there is a potential brute force attempt happening. It gives you the complete detail. In the next screen, it also shows you the client IP address from where the attack came in. It is somewhere from China using the username SA and variety of passwords. Total 12 failed login happened on this particular instance. Next, it gives you vulnerable code example as well. It looked at the code and gave you the vulnerable statement that this particular SQL statement is potentially vulnerable for SQL injection. So that's the Qualys power which you're getting along. Looking at your code and telling you the SQL statement which you have constructed might be malicious to inject the SQL injection into this. That kind of benefit you can get out of Azure Security Center.
So you can basically go back to your developer and tell them, hey, you know what, in this particular SQL statement, you need to take a closer look at this as to how you're handling the input coming in this, because there are alerts we are receiving on this grounds.
Then you get different security incident detected. Like this one is for potential SQL injection and potential vulnerability, both were rated at a different level. Next. This is a Windows Defender alert. The AV on that system actually caught a malicious file and raised an alert that Microsoft Anti-Malware has taken an action to protect this VM from a malware. So if a virus attack is happening, it can actually be taken care there directly. This is the threat intelligence alert you are getting it. It says the traffic is detected from an IP address which is recommended for blocking. We may not know, but if you have no legitimate business with this particular IP, we recommend you to block this IP address so that you do not get attack traffic. If you
So
go
this
deeper,
basically ties in. Right. So this basically ties into the security center's threat intelligence sources. So this IP is has been classified by Microsoft as a malicious IP based on their cognitive analysis.
so based on different variety of history as well, it will be identifying that okay, one particular IP is not a good IP, so to say, used in an attack vector or used in by various attack threat actors. So it will recommend you to block those IPs. Back to the deck. Let's see. Yeah. So what are we protecting now? Starting from Windows to Linux, from Azure, on other cloud, on data center. What we are getting out of Azure Security Center is a central management, automatically onboarding and extending it to the hybrid cloud, giving you a security hygiene posture of the complete cloud setup, and also giving you file integrity monitoring so that in case there is something wrong with any of the crucial file, configuration file, you would be alerted so that nothing wrong in a configuration can go ahead. It also reduces your attack surface using the cloud native security controls, the cognitive science used in that, plus the adaptive controls which we saw, including the just-in-time access. It reduces your attack surface, tells you about a potential vulnerability in your code with your vulnerability assessment tools, and protects you on that level. Plus, detect and prevent the advanced threats using the built-in endpoint detection and response platform of Microsoft Defender, the advanced threat protection. It will detect all the advanced threats onto the server as well as on the cloud native applications, including your Azure functions, SQL instances, all of that. Next. So while talking about the cloud native workload, the protection also extends to the Azure web applications, to the VM scale sets, and the different containers. Containers have been of lately very popular, and all of these are mapped and managed using CIS benchmark. CIS benchmark is one of the standard benchmark people use to harden their systems. And if you follow the CIS benchmarks to the letter and spirit, you would realize that the attack on your infrastructure is becoming even more difficult. So, as Carter has also pointed out, a lot of people will be moving on to containers. So, if you see this diagram in the beginning, which we started, now we are at the place where we have protected all of that, maybe your Azure, AWS, GCP, or your private data center. All of that has been covered and controlled directly onto the Azure Security Center. Next. So we briefly touched upon the automation of the workflows. You can have different trigger playbooks. You can have different Azure Logic apps created, which can work directly with the Azure Security Center. So it can work in a way that, okay, if a statement is true, it can put you a Teams message or a Slack message, and a response from there itself can take an action back onto the Azure Security Center and Azure Defender to protect your infrastructure. You may not have to log on to the portal again and again to take care of it. You can create your own PowerShell scripts, your API scripts, or even other logic apps to automate a lot of part. I strongly recommend going to the Azure Security Center community page. You can see a lot of people have already created different workflows and remediation policies, which can be used and leveraged upon for a better security. And then it will give you more ideas that what else you can do to improve the security at your infrastructure. Next. Okay. So the last, protect your cloud workload. Easy checklist says that have a good cyber hygiene. Make sure your cloud security posture is monitored and strengthened. Turn on the threat protection for all the cloud resources, for all the stuff you are having on your different multi-cloud environment. Reduce your attack surface by all the possible method. JIT is just one, the Qualys, the adaptive networking, all of that will reduce your attack surface. Integrate your alerts and logs into an SIM, either your on-premise SIM, pre-built SIM, or you can use Azure Sentinel for that. Integrate so that your app owners, your administrators, your database administrators, everybody can get notified the moment there is an attack happening, so that an action can be taken to prevent larger damage. Then, as we also saw that Azure Security Center can help you in identifying the root cause to know where the problem started and beef up the whole security hygiene of your infrastructure in total. I think that's the last slide we have. Thanks for your attention. Go ahead, secure yourself. And that's our Twitter handles if you want to follow.